For this next phase, more of a design phase, I'm going to customize the interface a little. So I'm pulling my default palette away. I'm going to dock it on the left-hand side, click this little icon, come down to Customize, and I'm going to set 4 rows for the display of colors. That way I don't have to scroll through my colors. Next, I'm going to come over and I'm going to select the Interactive Tools flyout and place that right at the top there. And I'm also going to select my Curve Tools flyout, reshape that, and I'm just going to pop that there. So now I've set myself up a customized working area, which is going to make this a lot more convenient. Now the first tool I'm going to use is the Bezier tool. Now with my Bezier tool selected, remember that the active layer, which is the face shadows layer, is the layer we're going to be drawing our objects on. So to use this tool, click at one point, and then at your next point, hold your left mouse button down, brings up control handles, and you can shape that line. I'm going to click back on the starting point to join, left mouse button down to shape the line. And I'm going to fill with a nice light grey. Right click on the no colour well to remove the outline colour around my shape. Same at the top here. Click my next point, hold my left mouse button down, click, back to my starting point, click, fill that with a nice light grey, right click and remove the outline. And doesn't that look great right there? Now I'm going to create a rather unusual shape now. Click and click, pull that over to there, then click again, left mouse button held down, back down to the bottom, slight rounding, and then back to my starting point. And I'm going to fill this with a golden brown colour. Then right click and remove the outline colour. I'm now going to select my freehand tool, and I'm going to freehand, left mouse held down, and draw another shape around there, slightly going over my other one, back to the starting point, and it will join. Again with that nice golden brown, right click and remove the outline colour. Another little one just here. And this time I'm going to fill this one with a purpley pink colour. Right click and remove the outline. And one last shape just up here. Fill that with that same golden brown colour. Now you'll notice that nothing happens. That's because I didn't join or didn't get back to my starting point. So delete. I'm going to do it again. Click and make sure I go back to my starting point and fill with a nice golden brown, and right click, remove the outline color. Now the last area that I want to draw a shape, I need to just scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to draw just inside of the shoulder shape there, out, down, around there. It's kind of an unusual shape. I don't really have a purpose here. It's just to be creative. Fill that with a nice grey and right click, remove the outline colour. Tap my space bar to go back to my pick tool, and then I'm just going to place that up inside of that area there. F4 on my keyboard zooms so that I can see the whole of my object. You know what? I'm going to select that object, click again, and I'm going to just skew to the left a little. And one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the border of my page. I'm going to double click and I'm going to turn off Show Page Border. Sometimes it helps to be creative, not feeling that sense of constraint inside of an area. I'm going to just squash that up a little bit more. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply a transparency to some of these objects. So if I select my transparency tool and click on the largest object there, come up to the drop down menu and choose the transparency type texture. There are many transparency types or textures you can use, I should say. Depending on the sample choice, you'll get a whole array of textures you can choose from. We're going to go with the basic one. And what I'm going to do is move the starting transparency point around the 50% mark. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to apply that same transparency to all the other objects. To make that easier, I'm going to turn everything off so I can just see my objects. I'm going to select this one, and on the property bar we've got copy transparency properties. So I'm going to click that, then click back on my original, select, copy that one, and with the pink one, select and copy that one. And the same with the grey, copy there. Isn't it easy to be able to just copy that process? Now wait till you see this. When I turn everything back on, doesn't that look absolutely wonderful? Well, what we're going to do now is go ahead and actually add some media objects and really bring our drawing alive. So let's come over and select the Artistic Media tool. Now right now we're on the Face Shadows layer, so I'm going to close that up and select the Face Outline layer. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do is try to create a shoulder shape, but totally the wrong brush. So we'll delete that, and what I'm going to do is select Preset, and under Preset come down to one of my favorite strokes, this one here. It's a little narrower at the front and the rear of the stroke, and we'll have another attempt at that. That doesn't look bad. Let's just move that down and over there a little. And also I want to highlight this shoulder shape here, so just a nice smooth stroke around there. Maybe make that one a little broader. That looks good. And I want a stroke to go off into the distance here, so I'm going to select Brush, go with Sensual, and most likely one of these two strokes here. So I'll select this stroke and just, probably not quite the right type of stroke, so while it's selected I'll select the other. That does look better. I do prefer that as a stroke. Okay, I'm going to select Z on my keyboard and just zoom in just to the top half so you can get a much closer look. H on your keyboard gives you the pan tool, or the hand tool as some people call it, so we can just pull that to around about where I want it to go, right there. Alright, spacebar takes me back to my pick tool, and I'll select again my Artistic Media tool. Now we've still got that same brush stroke selected, and I'm just going to experiment and add a little bit of hairstyle strokes here. So a little bit down there, and I'm going to make these a dark grey in colour to blend in with our, as you can see there. Now just a couple down through here. Great. Now I'm going to change and go to the calligraphy category, and I want to select this little stroke here. So just going to come up through here. That looks nice, I quite like that. And I want to add just a little piece down across the top here. And I think I'll just narrow that down a little. That looks good actually. Physically move that over a little bit. I like that. Now I'm going to zoom in on the eyes. Zoom in on the eyes. Now what we want to make sure we do this time is select the appropriate layer. So we'll close the face outline layer up, and I'm going to select the right eye. Come back to my Artistic Media tool. Go to Preset, and the first stroke, this one here, gives you a great looking eyelash. So let's just experiment first of all. Obviously way too wide, so let's pop that down. That's better. And try to go over the top of the ones that were there. And this really gives a really nice touch. And of course we can give some additional eyelashes as well. Alright, let's select the left eye. Do the same thing. Such a great stroke for eyelashes. There we go, that looks quite nice. Now, F4 on my keyboard zooms back out. And that's coming alive quite nicely, isn't it? See the difference it makes just putting those few little eyelashes. That looks great. Alright, what I want to do now is just thicken up around the bottom side of her chin just here. Now first of all, we need to make sure we have the right layer selected. So close up the left eye layer and choose the face outline layer. Now, selecting my Artistic Media tool, I'm going to the brush, and right down the bottom here, this stroke here. It's an unusual stroke, but I quite like it. It works well for just underneath the chin and jawline just there. Nice smooth stroke. Really like that. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Preset and go with the top stroke that we can see up there. And that looks quite nice. Just one little piece in there, and I think we'll do another black one over the top. So something like that. Make that one black in colour. So the idea here is I'm trying to give a sense of, a scarf or something wrapped around the neck, but being very artistic about it, of course. Well, finally, we just need to add some hair. So I'm going to just zoom in down here. We'll go back to our brush, sensual, and we'll pick some hair strokes. That's a nice hair stroke. So we'll go down through there. Make sure you get your thickness right. Once you've got your thickness right, and I might alternate between some colours. And also make sure you stroke the other direction as well. Stroking in the other direction will give you a slightly different shape and is well worth experimenting with. And one thing we can do is you can really do some back and forward strokes, and that does give you an interesting effect as well. Okay, F4 zoom back out. That's looking really great. Now for a little bit more work on the shoulder, I'm going to come up and choose Splatter. And there's a really great shape here. I love this shape. And just a single line out through there. Let's increase the size of the stroke. That kind of spreads out the swirliness of that. I really like that. And also I'm going to come back over to Preset, go with my favorite preset stroke, and just a little bit more work on this shoulder area here. I want to make that black in color, and obviously it's way too wide, so let's narrow that stroke down, and actually that's quite good. Well, all I want to do now is really add some color, so we'll add some splatters around the outside and throughout and see what that does. So brush, splatter, let's go with the first one up here, and let's just follow the contour there, make that stroke broader, and if we make that red in color, that looks nice. And then just through her cheek area, and let's make that navy. I think there's too many there, so I'll just delete that. Do a little less, that's it. Increase the size. That looks nice. Now I'll change the stroke now to something that gives me a bit of a line, so that one there, and something down through there. If we make that pink, oh, that does look really good. And we'll lower the size a little, up a little bit more, and again we'll go with a different stroke, and that one there, these are just single splatters, and I'm going to make that pink, another one up through there, make that pink, just select that one, actually spacebar to pick tool, and I'll just move it over there, maybe make that a little smaller. I think, yep, there we go, that looks great. And finally, I'm just going to put some little paint splotches over here. And in fact, I'm going to go with that one and just go like that. A little too big. Let's reduce the size a bit. And then I'm going to grab the new twirl tool and just click on there and watch what that does with this. It's really interesting. Isn't that a great effect? Shrink that down. Click. And again, I'll just bring up the rotation handles and rotate that in there. I think that looks brilliant. Well, guys, I'm finished. What I'd love for you to do is, of course, to go ahead and scan an image in and stylize that image using media effects, transparencies, and all the things that you've seen here.